So good morning. It is that time of the week again, fitness fragrance review time. Now, I wasn't sure which one I wanted to do today, but this is the one I've decided to pick. It is Rasasi Daarej. Now, I've owned this fragrance a couple of times. This is literally, is it my third bottle? Yeah, I think it's my third bottle of this. And to be honest with you, the first two times I've had it, I've not liked it. I've not been a fan. So why would I buy it again? Well, to be honest with you, I got it for a really good price. It's always fascinated me, this one. This doesn't smell like anything I've particularly owned before. Apparently it's a bit of a similarity to Valentino V, which was discontinued a little while ago. And yeah, this is one of those sort of Middle Eastern fragrances that is quite well known in the fragrance community, but it's so confusing. It's not like any sort of designer fragrance in the modern world. So what we'll do, I'm going to quickly talk about the note breakdown in a second and just go through it. But if you haven't seen these videos before, essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a workout this morning, all while wearing this fragrance. So I'll go for a run, got my running stuff on, already look a mess, don't I? Hat's not even on properly. But I'll go for a run, walk to the gym, do a gym workout and walk home this morning. And yeah, essentially I'm going to review this on 5 categories. It's going to be price / value for money, its versatility, projection during my run. I'll come back up to my room, spray my room, see how much this fills the room up, compliment factor, and then just its overall longevity. And I'll do a shower test at the gym as well, just to see how long it lasts today. So yeah, have my opinion changed on this really? Has it really changed over the few years? It still needs to convince me, and I want to see what score it gets today based on those categories. So can it impress me more than maybe I sometimes give it credit for? But yeah, let's have a look at the note breakdown anyway, and we'll talk about the fragrance and other parts of the bottle. Yeah, let's have a little look at the note breakdown. So I've got all the details here. It's quite a complex one. The company UAE-based Rasasi, so yeah, they basically do affordable scents that are meant to be quite complex, and actually they do a very good job of that. But what's the sort of note profile for this one? Well, it's essentially a warm, spicy oriental, and it is definitely that. So if we look at the top note, cumin, cardamom, artemisia, it has this spiciness. You definitely get the spice. You really notice it, and it doesn't disappear at all through this fragrance. Quite heavy notes for an opening, I have to say as well. Cardamon's a very popular sort of fragrance note, and yeah, I don't normally expect it in the opening quite so much like this, but you'd certainly get that spice. This is a nighttime fragrance, 100% with all the notes in it. Heart, or the middle, you've got rose, iris, and amber. I get the iris in this. I don't detect rose. A lot of Middle Eastern fragrances, you get rose quite heavy, quite strong. Really kicks through with oud. This one's much more powdery, and I think that's the iris, particularly, like Prada fragrances, Prada L'Homme. It's that lipsticky vibe and that powdery vibe. That is definitely what I'm detecting here. So you get the spice, you certainly recognise the powder that mixes with it. And then in the base as well, vanilla, tonka bean, patchouli and musk. There is this darkness about it, but it's very much creamy. It's a really, really creamy type fragrance. So I think that darkness is coming from the patchouli, that earthiness, but then that creamy vanilla, tonka bean. Again, you really notice it. You notice all these layers of the fragrance. If they don't go missing, sometimes when you have top notes of citrus, that disappears quickly. This fragrance, they're all really heavy notes, and I can certainly smell it this morning. So yeah, what I'm going to quickly do now is just talk about the bottle and what I think of it. And yeah, is it a good bottle? Does the atomizer spray well? If that matters to you. Of course, for me, I'm more worried about the scent. I actually think this looks pretty nice. I love the colour of this juice. I love the purple juice. I think that's half the reason I've gone back to buying it. But I also like the shape of the bottle. It's like a sort of starfish shape, but it makes it really easy to hold, and you can really grab it then. Sometimes phrases, they've got such wide bottles like this one, that it just isn't very comfortable to hold, whereas this one just feels easy to hold in your hand. It's a cheap sort of plastic cap, as you can tell. Atomizer though, nothing wrong with that at all. Works absolutely fine, and yeah, I can't really complain about it. I said that's really all there is to it. It's quite a nice, I said, love the colour of the juice. It's got the name of the fragrance there on the top. It's simple, does the job. So yeah, no problem with that at all. Only comes in 100ml, this one, which we'll talk about a little bit more in price / value for money. But yeah, time to get out there, time to get on my run. Apparently it's raining, but it's so dark. These mornings are getting super dark. That's 7 in the morning. I've been putting it off for the last 20 minutes. Right, better get out there. So price / value for money. Do I think this was a good price? Well, if we look at the prices there, the sort of general ballpark is sort of on discount websites, you're talking around £22. But on eBay, where I definitely recommend buying it, you're talking about 16 to 18 pounds, so about 15 to 20 pounds is a ballpark. Do I think that's good value for money? Well, I'm going to look at the pros and cons here. Wait for this car to go by. So, we look at the pros. This is an extremely complex set, and I have to say it does a very good job of, you know, being consistent through the notes. None of the notes sort of go missing, you know, I don't really detect the rows, but you get facets at every part of the note breakdown, so from the top, middle to the bass, which is quite impressive with all these notes that they've got in. So for its complexity, yeah, absolutely it's worth that price. And it hasn't got that really harsh sort of alcoholic, you know, blast. If you put it next to your nose, you know, it doesn't burn your nostrils or anything like that. And I would say if I was blindfolded, I'd probably say it's worth around 30 to 40 pounds. If I didn't know the fragrance, I'd probably say about 30 to 40 pounds. So all in all, you know, that sounds like it's good value for money, but I do have some cons with this. Does it smell like the most natural, spicy sort of fragrance? No. Is the vanilla really natural? No. I would say this is quite synthetic, to be honest with you. It's a synthetic fragrance that, you know, it's pretty well blended together. And I always say with cheap fragrances, I think simplicity is normally the best thing. Just plain citrus, because you can't go as wrong with them. This could have easily gone very wrong, particularly when people are comparing it to an expensive fragrance. So, you know, it's done well there to be compared to a high level fragrance that's been discontinued for a very affordable price with all these notes. I think one of the issues though for me, again going back to where it is quite synthetic, quite cloying, it's definitely cloying. It 100% is cloying because of that sort of sweet creamy vanilla. It woke me up in the night once. I wore it to bed once after I'd been for a night out. I didn't change my fragrance for some reason. I wore it to bed. Wasn't a good idea. So I think for a lot of people this doesn't smell like a typical modern sort of Western fragrance, you know, those sweet caramel type scents. This smells very much Middle Eastern, and 100 ml of this, I think you're going to either love it or hate it, and I don't think a lot of people feel very comfortable wearing this one. I think if you got it in 30 ml bottles, people might be a bit happier, but to pay £20 for something that you may not really like, because I think you could really not like this one, like I didn't originally, and you know, people are buying sort of cheap fragrances because they're getting into them. This just might be a little bit too different for a lot of people. So based on that, as I said, I think you've got to have an appreciation of the differences of this one and appreciate it isn't, you know, what you'd expect to wear in a sort of UK, US environment. So price / value for money, with all those things, those pros and cons, I'm going to give it a 7.5. I think I would have pushed it up to an 8 if they had a smaller bottle size where I could have just, you know, used a little bit and thought, oh, okay, I've only got 30 ml, so it doesn't matter, I can waste a bit. And I'm not spending too much money, but yeah, I just think it's going to be a bit too far removed. That being said, it's very daring. They've done a good job of what they're trying to achieve, and again, if you like this one, you know, and you know this sort of scent profile, I think you're going to be pretty happy with your purchase, because it definitely does have a slightly more expensive smell than I think they're charging. So yeah, on to versatility. Don't mention the weather, Harry, because look, I don't know if you can tell from my glasses, it started raining. It's not too bad, that's just a bit of drizzle, but I'm glad I haven't put my new glasses on. So versatility then, so how can you dress this one up, dress this one down, different seasons, different occasions, male, female, all those sort of things. Well, this is a masculine fragrance, this is definitely marketed for men, you know, and I'm not going to mark it down too much for not being unisex. It has got a sweetness about it, which, if there's a bold woman that did want to wear it, I think they potentially could, but I certainly wouldn't recommend it. So what would I say? Well, I think this is very much purely just nighttime winter. I don't think there's any other time, because it's just so heavy, where you could really, you know, pull this off. It would be too much for you, you know, it would just completely overwhelm you in the day, and you couldn't put it on in an office or anything like that, close confined space. This is night out, this is, you know, big room, outdoors, whatever. I want to be noticed. I sort of picture someone who runs a nightclub wearing this with a black shirt, quite important, but yeah, quite a cool guy, everyone wants to know them. you know, and he's got a bit of a playful side. Now, I'm going to say in terms of ages, again, for a young person, this isn't juvenile at all. This is very much heavy in your face. And again, going back to what I was saying before, it smells like a Middle Eastern fragrance. So I think for anyone who's younger, you know, who's used to those freshies like you know, Dior Stars, Nautica Voyage, all those sort of things, they're not going to like it. It's going to be too different. Just there's so much going on. It's harsh in that sense. But I also think it's a little bit too powdery for an older man. My dad never was a big fan of this one. And I don't know anyone particularly who I've asked their opinion on it, which obviously we'll talk about a bit later, who said, oh yeah, that's really me, that. It's mysterious. That's what I'd say. It's very mysterious with that patchouli, that earthiness. So you have to have that, you know, appreciation of it, as I was saying earlier. And I think you're probably talking, again, full winter, but definitely mainly winter, night time, for a man sort of 30s to 45 maybe tops. You know, very much, I think it's quite limited in terms of who this would suit and occasions it would suit. But yeah, not office. I wouldn't. It's certainly got the ability to dress up because they're those wintry, heavier notes. But yeah, the powderiness I think is going to make it a little bit too different for a sort of older gentleman, and the complexity of those other notes that are in it, those deeper earthy notes, those spicy notes, are just going to be too much for a younger person. So definitely not a gym scent, definitely not a casual wear scent, night out, middle age. You know, an important person though could definitely rock this. So it's not that versatile, let's be honest there. And because it's not suited to the climate here for me, I'm going to give it a 4.5. That is harsh, I know, and I think it'd excel in the right situation. But for me, I find those situations are quite limited. So for that reason, I can't really give it a higher score when I consider the other phrases I've given. Anyway, let's get this run done. And yeah, we'll talk about projection when I get back. Am I noticing it during my run today? Just got back from a run, had to put my hat back on because it got really cold. But I'm going to spray my room 10 times, go downstairs, have a cup of tea. 10 minutes time, we'll come up and see how much this has filled the room. I think it's going to do pretty well with this, but how well did it do on my run? So we'll talk about that downstairs. I might as well spray my arms now, ready for my longevity in 3 hours' time. There we are. Right, let's get down. I want a cup of tea. Thirsty. Okay, so projection. How much did I notice Rasasi Daarej during my run? Well, to be honest with you, not at all. Literally a little bit at the end when I was stretching, but I was quite disappointed with the projection on this. This is a strong cloying fragrance, but it seems to be one that you almost have to immerse yourself in for a little bit rather than on the move. I've noticed this a little bit before. I've been sitting next to someone, they notice it in terms of projection. If I'm on the move a little bit more, they don't really notice it. They don't sort of mention it that much. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting how this is quite a dark fragrance. It's heavy, but yeah, it doesn't maybe have that sillage that you'd expect. But I think it's going to do quite well on longevity. I think longevity is going to do a bit better than projection. But be interesting now. 10 minutes has gone by, so I'm going to head back upstairs, see how much it fills the room. And will I notice it at the top of the stairs even? I might do with this one. It's really hard to tell because, as I said, so far projection's not been as good as I expected. I thought it would do better on my run. So yeah, let's see. So I can't smell it at the top of the stairs. Has it filled my room? I can smell it, but this is not as strong as I expected, I have to say. Maybe it could be an office scent after all. No, I think it's too complex a scent for that anyway, but this hasn't filled the room. This is about 20-25% as strong as it was about 10 minutes ago. It's going to be gone in an hour. I'm really surprised. I thought this would do a lot better, I must admit. And it's kind of backed up what I was saying about the projection during my run. So there's no parfum as well. I'm quite surprised with the notes and the heaviness. I'm going to have to give it a really bad score again, which doesn't sound great, does it? I'm going to give it a 4.5. I expected a lot more, and that's maybe just my own opinion. I've never been over, as I said, bowled over by this phrase, but one thing I've always given it is performance has been pretty good in certain situations. But again, maybe it's just that one where you almost have to sit around for a bit and let it kind of fill the room that way on you, rather than, you know, spray, go on the move. Because obviously when I spray that, it pushes towards the door, Window's not open today though, so yeah, there's no reason why it couldn't have filled this room up, and yeah, very disappointing. But anyway, what we'll do, we'll head to the gym now and we'll talk about compliment factor. What's my experience? The third time I've had this fragrance. I've had any special mentions on it? Do I think it could be a compliment getting fragrance? Time to answer those questions on my walk. Dot Cora, I'm eating a buttermint. So compliment factor then. What's my experience of this? Well, I have actually worn it once on a night out. It was like a friend's party years ago, about 7 years ago. Did it get noticed? No, it didn't at all. But I remember overspraying it a lot, and nobody mentioned it, and I could tell it was strong. So again, I think it's one of them that if you're going to get a compliment on it, it's going to feel quite different. People are going to go, oh, that's a bit of a interesting one. What's that? It's quite mysterious, and even though I'm not a massive fan of it, in fact I've come back to it 3 times. Obviously says it does something for me. You know, it has got something that intrigues me. It is an intriguing fragrance, but it certainly doesn't fit that mould of like mass pleasing or anything like that to, you know, use at the gym or whatever. And I always think with compliments we're talking about a lot of the time versatility, that you can use it in many situations, and this is not a scent that many people would expect someone to smell of, not in this sort of culture, you know, UK US culture. It's just very, as we were saying earlier, very different. However, again, because it's so different, because it's so unique, I think you will get the odd compliment, and I think if someone likes it, they're going to really like it, if that makes sense. However, I think as a general rule of thumb, it's going to be quite different. It's going to feel very different to a lot of, you know, what people expect people to wear. So for that reason, it's very hard to give a score for this one. This is a tough one today. I'm going to say for compliment factor, because I think it's strong enough to get compliments, even though it's not done well on projection so far today. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. Again, I think if someone really likes this, you might get a really, really top compliment with it. But I think in general, people are not going to be a massive fan of this one. It's going to be more a case of, that smells really interesting, rather than you smell really nice. It's just, it's so different. It's so different to what you'd expect. It's this lovely, spicy, creamy, powdery scent, but it's just not got that blue aquatic vibe that many people are looking for when they're going for compliments. But yeah, if I get any at the gym today, we'll bump it up to a 10. Let's hopefully get one. I still haven't had one yet, have I? So workout done, no compliments, but definitely smell the fragrance. Definitely lasting better on the skin. Again, these are very heavy notes like cumin, cardamom, your vanilla, tonka bean, patchouli, amber. So it's strong through the whole fragrance, and those floral components as well. It's just, it's there, but yeah, it certainly doesn't feel right for the gym at all. Of course, I think longevity will be its strongest round, but you've got to find out first of all how long it survives in the shower. Look at my hair, by the way. That's from wearing a hat. I've not combed it or anything. It's just gone very weird. Having a haircut this afternoon, so I better get on with it. Leaving the gym now. Didn't have to wash my hair today because I've had my hair cut in a couple of hours. Longevity then. Yeah, right. Now this has lived up to everything I expected and what I've had from experience before. I'm going to just say the score first of all, 10 out of 10. It smells 90% as strong as it did before about 3 hours ago when I put it on. It's probably even 100%, it's just as strong. You do not need to reapply this. This sticks literally to your skin so much. It's probably one of them, if you don't like it, that's probably a bad thing, because you can barely wash it off. It's literally that strong. It's just, again, where everything in it is so heavy, cumin, cardamom, patchouli, vanilla, it just stays this spicy, creamy, vanilla type scent. It doesn't change, it stays literally the same. It hasn't changed on my skin chemistry at all. I think this will last 2 or 3 days on clothes. It just sticks. It's a sort of sticky fragrance, which is why I'm always surprised it doesn't project as much, but I'm just going to put that down to the fact maybe the quality of the actual oils they put in just maybe aren't up to sort of that level. But wow, it is it's one of the best, I think, for longevity. And for a cheap fragrance, you can't really argue that. And I'm quite glad it's finished on a bit of a high note there, because I've given it some tough scores, but we'll add them all up when I get back, and yeah, we'll see what it got overall and give my final thoughts. We are back. I'm knackered. I'm absolutely knackered. I have done 37,200 steps, all while wearing Rasasi Daarej pour on. So, what was the overall score it got today? Well, I'm going to have to change it because for the very, very first time, I've come back in my room. This is like 5 hours ago since I actually put that fragrance on, 4 hours ago. And I can smell now. I can smell that projection. It's completely filled the room up. So I just needed to give it a little bit longer than 10 minutes. So yes, this does fill a room. So I'm going to bump that up to, I think I did a 4.5. So I'm going to give it a 6.5 now. That means then the overall total for today was 34.5. That's not bad. I have to say there's some difficult sort of scores I've given it today. I've been quite harsh, but it's just, to be honest with you, I think this is a brilliant scent. I really do. I'm going to say this now. This actual fragrance is a great, great fragrance. It's just not for me. And again, my score probably reflects that, but I also don't think it's going to be for many people. It does have that Middle Eastern vibe. So if you like Middle Eastern fragrances, this could be a signature scent. It has got the quality to do that. Yeah, it's not 100% natural, but there's so much complexity in this that I really appreciate. And that's why I've come back to it. You know, I say I don't like it, but I've come back to it a few times. It's just very daring. And if you've got that daring personality, go and rock this, because I've not smelled anything that smells like this. I know Valentino V is sort of a clone of it, essentially. But I don't think you can get that one anymore. So I don't know how similar other fragrances are to this. So yeah, this one is a fantastic for longevity. If you want a really, really good fragrance for longevity, this will do the job. It's not expensive. It's certainly good for a night out, and you will certainly notice it yourself. And if you like those complex winter scents, this just touches on everything. Oriental, spicy, sweet. You know, it's got all those sort of things that potentially you'd be looking for, and it has that element of classiness about it. So yeah, it's done all right overall with the score, and I have to say I'm glad. As I said, it's a fragrance that I do appreciate. It's just not for me, essentially, and I don't think I'll get it again. But you never know. The weather's getting a bit colder, and over time, sometimes I miss fragrances, even if I don't necessarily like them, if that makes sense. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed this one today. My eye test, my haircut is due in about 4 minutes. So what I'm going to quickly do is literally just down the road, so it's fine. I'm going to quickly spray my fragrance, and yeah, we better get on with it. So I've changed the score there, and the next time you probably see me doing these videos, a different haircut as well. But yeah, going to do a live running video at some point this week as well. So we'll talk all things races while out on my run. As long as the weather's okay, I'm planning to do it on Saturday. So yeah, hopefully you'll join me for that. But thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you later.